and I also I want to really emphasize it in today's question and answer session. I'm going to record this. There are often times, particularly when you actually have a product like you already have, like in drop shipping and stuff. We keep talking, remember, about 80 phrases a day and things like that, and we talk as a minimum keyword. But I've got to say, hey, look, for most applications, for things like that, when you've got a product item, so for example, if you've got a, sort of like a Ed Roman Blues Boy, now, sure, there may be only, 5 people a day looking for a Ed, an Ed Roman Blues Boy, but those 5 people are killerly interested, and they're probably interested in researching and buying something. And that is a very important point. So often, mate, those filters that we use don't apply, because you can be super highly targeted. And sure, you may only get 5 unique visitors on that bit of traffic a week, but those 5 are buyers, and that's what you want. So the opportunity for you to go after and target individual products is such a huge opportunity with the 30-day challenge technology. I see a few people asking questions about drop shipping. What's that? It's where you take the orders on behalf of somebody who then centrally, so they handle all the nasty, messy stuff of warehousing and shipping and all that sort of thing, and you're responsible. You bring marketing, the marketing, and you make the sales, and then you split it. It's brilliant. It really works well. So for me, Donald, I think this sort of stuff, it's huge for you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So one thing that I was kind of wanting to add in there would be, would you go with a single blog attacking multiple keywords or multiple blogs?
I would look at, personally, if I was doing a product, I would have a blog per product. Now, you have to be careful, and I've got to say, check your lawyers, check your legals, check everything. The way you use brand names and things in products and blogs and all that sort of thing, you do have to be careful. It is possible to do. It's probably outside of the scope, and I certainly cannot give legal advice. I am in no way, shape, or form a qualified legal person. You need to get your own legals, okay? But you can I would be creating fan blogs based on every single thing. So I would have like the Ed Roman Blues Boy here. I would have a blog which is dedicated to that. You need to be very careful about how you use it, how you do trademarks, how you respect to do trademark. It is absolutely possible. You just have to do it the right legal way. And unfortunately, I can't give advice like that here. Well, I can't give advice like that, full stop. I am not a lawyer. Okay. So, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Good on you, mate. Thanks. Bob is asking, do I have an address for the Atlanta? Don't have an address or time at this point. I suspect it'll be around somewhere where the Stompernet conference is. So that's very cool. Okay, now let's cancel that. So again, if you guys want to chat, you want to call up on the Skype, just send me a chat in Skype and I will call you. That works a lot better. It's much smoother, I think. Okay, folks. Now, Caro, could you do us a favour and send me that admin link again? Actually, I might be able to put it here. It's just for 30 days now. Just excuse me for a second, folks. Just grabbing the question and answers. Alright, question here. Great. I love this question. Anne asks, should every small business convert their website, thanks Inez, Should every small business convert their website into a blog if they don't have much going on their static website? Thanks, loving it. Answer, absolutely. Absolutely. I see the blog, I often call it the totem. It's the central meeting point. It's like one of those totem poles in an Indian sort of camp. It's the central meeting point. It's where everybody meets up, and all the activity around that occurs around the totem. And that's what your blog should be, in particular for a small business. Because you can, and again, I keep using Richard Merritt as an example. Gabstra, if Gabby should put up his link as well, because he does that as well. It's a great way of doing it. So that's a brilliant way to do it. So that's a very cool way. So I absolutely concur. Absolute agree. Okay, Eduardo, is this working? It seems to be working, Robert. If you're writing a book, is it better to have a blog versus a static website? Oh, yes, absolutely. Remember these words. Got pens? This is worth writing down. Involvement breeds commitment. Okay? Involvement breeds commitment. If you remember those 3 words, you will go a long, long, long way. And again, guys, if you want me to bring you in on Skype, chat me first, and then I'll call you, because it works a heck of a lot better that way. And of course, if I do call you, make sure you pause your Ustream, otherwise you'll have echoes and all that, and make sure you got headphones. But yes, absolutely, Midnight Rambler, if you're writing a book, it's absolutely much better to have a blog. Hey Ed, which blog would you recommend using? Which one has the most credibility? I think I've got to make some assumptions, Matt, on that question. If you're asking about blog platforms, for your own blog, we happen to use WordPress because Dan is a WordPress guru who can do all sorts of different things with it, and it works beautiful. There may have been a time in history where Google favoured one platform over another. In other words, an underlying, like they favoured Joomla or WordPress or Typepad or one of the blogging platforms. I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't think it's a factor. We use WordPress, love it. Works. Lots of people using it. It's open source, so it works. How do you feel about Craigslist for backlinks? I make a market on Craigslist with my products often, and I find my Craigslist posts coming up ranking high again and again. Yes, hello, brilliant. And I don't know what the terms of service are on Craigslist. I've got to say I'm nowhere near an expert on Craigslist because, unfortunately, it's very much a US based thing. But boy, if you can add in if you're in the course of your doing business, if you can add a link into your Craigslist and get that going back to your blog, and of course if you use keyword strategies that we've taught you in this challenge onto your Craigslist post, you're definitely going to get traction. I was looking for something last night and I noticed a Craigslist posting very high in the rankings. So yeah, go for it. Absolutely go for it. Rob says, this is all working fantastic. My dig and Squidoo information is posting on Google page 1, but my main blog is on page 10. Should I be concerned? Absolutely not. That's exactly, and I kicked off the show talking about that. Definitely nothing to be concerned about there at all. That's the way to do it. Okay, how to do groups in Twitter, meaning different niche with a group. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking there, Morley, but again, I'll assume if you're talking about marketing a product, again, I can only point to great business examples that I look at on the net. You look at it like Gabriel Amplifiers, for example. He uses his Twitter beautifully to let people know about what he's up to, and he includes other stuff in there which is fascinating, which makes you feel closer and more interested. Like he's got this whole cooking thing going on, and a fascination with Julia Childs, for example, which I love. People love that. That's the stuff people remember. Richard Merritt does it brilliantly with his pen site. Study people who are doing it really, really well. But if you're an active personal user of Twitter, like you have a group of friends that you chat with, make sure you don't use that for your marketing. Don't use that one for your marketing. Use it for use your marketing for your marketing, and use your personal one for your personal one. What are my thoughts on Woopera? We love it. We use it ourselves to track on the 30-day challenge. It's very, very cool indeed. It's a tracking site. It does similar things to Google Analytics. Got some very cool, sexier looking in some ways, but yeah, it's great. Love it. We use it. When you mention to use Twitter for business, do you mean using a pen name per market you are in? Yeah, that's one way of doing it. I personally prefer. I have no testing basis for this. I personally prefer personalities to like instead of vintage electric guitar. I prefer to be Ed Dale. Well, not Ed Dale, but say John Smith in vintage electric guitar, and make it consistent with your persona. The reason I love doing that more than anything else, again, it comes with my buying and selling business experience, is that it's very easy to package up a persona and sell it and have somebody take it over and run it, which I like. It can slow some sites down, Nez says about, I think he's talking about Woopera. Should we be linking from 5 of the different social sites each day? Am I only trouble if I did it one time with my first post? No, not at all. Remember why we were doing it. We were doing it to say, hey Google, here I am. Hello, we're here. That's why you were doing it. Can you add posts over time? Absolutely, great, when you've got a couple of moments, but don't do too much. A little goes a long, long way. Much better to do 2 or 3 links a day than save it all up and do 50 links on one day. Because if you do that, Google could be a soundbite. I see Andy Roberts talking there about Ed Dale as a persona for sale. I could not sell my business to somebody else. I'm a classic example of how not to do it, because it's me. I'm the business. So, if I'm not there, there's no business. It's a classic example. Should be using a domain rather than a subdomain. I am using a subdomain, but was wondering if it'll hurt me in the future. Example, selling the site later. Yeah, what else have you got on that domain? What else is on the sub? In a perfect world, you have a clean domain, clean everything, and it's just cleaner. But for some people, starting again, I don't want you to fall in the trap of it's like projecting what sort of offshore tax strategy should I run, and you haven't earned your first dollar yet. It's cart before horse. Garth asks, what's the difference between RSS1, RSS2 and Atom? Bluntly, mate, I don't know. I tend to choose the RSS2 option. There are differences. Somebody might be able to tell you. You could go to Wikipedia and have a look. They all seem to work with Google Reader, so I don't mind. Eric says, I have good Google ranking. Number 1 for Exact and number 4 for Broadmatch. Good stuff. And I got 0 hits for Google. Okay. This is an interesting one. And I don't think this applies to you, Eric, but this is a really cool... I want to say this. It is quite possible that you get number 1, you get number 4 for the Broadmatch. See, number 4... Eric, if you're still around or in the chat window, I'd love to know what was your SEOT for that particular phrase. I'd really love to know that, because I can extrapolate out. So that would be brilliant. And while I'm waiting for that, I am going to, let's see if we got some. Here we are. Let's call in this random person. Hello, Chicago.
Hey. Can you hear me?
Can hear you beautifully. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabby of Gabriel Amplifiers. Mate, I'm loving your amplifier, I've got to say. It's extraordinary. I've never heard chime on an amp like your amps. Extraordinary, really. And the attention to detail is phenomenal.
Hey, thanks, Ed.
Now, you had a question.
Oh, it's more of a follow-up for the person who asked. I don't remember who mentioned about the drop shipping, and I'm doing a similar thing where I have basically an e-store that has multiple products from multiple manufacturers, in the country. And what I'm doing, I have a couple blogs that point or specifically the products that are found on that website. And so far, it works so well because the store is like a centralized, hub of all those products, and then I'm pouring in, I'm bringing the links and the traffic in from those several different blogs that are talking about those products. So just an example of how dropshipping can be, enhanced.
And that is a perfect example, because if you set up your remember I said in one of the I think it was one of the zoo videos actually, that you're almost setting up like a big spider's web to catch traffic where you need oh, thank you, Eric, I'll talk about that in a sec. You need to set up a web, if you will, and this is what these blogs are. It's like parts and strands of your web, so wherever the traffic's coming from, you grab it and you very smoothly redirect it and flow it, very sort of Aikido style, into in Gabby's case here is using it to market parts, and and I sent you some that research, Gabby, the for your particular areas. You can just roll up all that traffic, and again, it doesn't necessarily, when you're in that situation, you don't necessarily need 80 visitors a day in using Market Samurai terms, SEOT. Because if there's 3 people searching for a particular part or some particular thing, then you're right there. You've got that person, you've got that part, and it's available. So you just want to be able to pick up all those sorts of things. Spokes of the wheel, says June, and she's absolutely right. Thank you very much, Gabby, and we'll speak to you very shortly. Cool. Okay, Eric says 302 for his SEOT score. And so if that was the case, we would expect in position 4 around, you'd like to think you'd be getting what, 15, 20, 15, 20. Oh, sorry guys, I did play with my slider a little bit there. Hang on. 15 to 20 hits a day, thereabouts. And so far you've had 0, but is that over what, 24 hours, 48 hours? Remember, and yours, I was going to say, the point I was going to make is make sure you check for seasonality. Now here's a really cool tip. You can use the new Google Insight tool, Eric. There's 2 things that could be at play. One is you could have a loading of weekend traffic to weekday traffic. Some niches definitely are loaded. Some have constant traffic every day. Some are in Google Trends, and Google Insight are sort of the new rolled in thing. And you're absolutely right. Insights, I think, is better, and it incorporates all of the elements into that. Thank you, Richard. And it's I think so Eric, 48. Oh, nice work. 48 hours. It would be very interesting to see that. I would leave it over like 3 or 4 days. Also use Google Insight to work out what days of the week the traffic, if there is any sort of pattern, could be consistent. Also, I wanted to warn people about seasonality, which is another thing Google Insight is just fantastic for. Just fantastic. Because a lot of, and I've made this mistake more than once with trout fishing, in fact. I launched a trout fishing product into like the second last day of the season, which was crazy. So that was a classic example of where I didn't account for the seasonality of things. So that's a very much a big deal part of it. Okay, so let's have a look. Actually, Alex asks about how do I do this stuff with Ustreams. Actually, you guys taught me about it. Somebody might be able to put up the link. It's brilliant. So have a use of that. Okay, let's go over here. So I would be checking that out. Carl asks, do you make multiple Skidoo lenses and hub pages for one site? We make them for different phrases, so you target them on a phrase basis. That's the nature of that. How long will you work on a site till you abandon it? Well, we're actually going to be looking at that over the course of the next few days. Remember, today's lesson, day 13's lesson, was me talking to you about analytics. Your Google Analytics, please, please, please don't underestimate that lesson. It's so, so important. You can't manage what you don't measure. You need to be understanding what's happening with your traffic. And that's what Google Analytics will tell you, which is brilliant. Kara asks, is there a way to automate the release of Twitters? Yes, there is. I would beg you to be extremely, extremely careful with that. I do it very, very rarely, and I use Shannon Cole's brilliant software to do it, which he wrote. And I'm sure Master of the Links will throw that... oh, actually, he's just gone. I'm giving you a pump up, and he's just left. Thanks, Barb. There you go. So there's a product that will do that. Hi, can you comment on the frequency of blog posts? As a newbie, should I post new content to my blog daily? Yeah. More is better to a point. I think you should. It would be lovely if you could update it once a day. That would be just absolutely lovely. Which would be fantastic. Claire asked, is it important to look at the spread for broad match and phrase match? Is it bad if it's too big? The way I describe it, which most will flip most SEO people out completely because it's such an abuse of the terminology, I think, for me, as a marketer who knows very little about SEO, to me, it's all about speed. If your phrase match, if you've got a high phrase match number for that particular phrase, it's easier to rank for phrase... Right, follow me along with my logic. It's easier to rank for phrase match than it is for broad match. Agreed? That's pretty much the case. You'll tend to rank higher in phrase match first than you will broad match. So, if we start with that premise, then we look at it from the point of view of, okay, well, if my phrase match and my broad match numbers are very similar, that's awesome. That's the best possible place, because if I can rank with phrase match, I'm going to get traffic quick. I'm going to get traffic real fast. Whereas with the broad, if there's a big discrepancy between the phrase match and the broad match, it means that you're not going to see traffic until your broad match ranks, which usually takes longer. So for me, pardon me, it's all about speed. Okay, guys, I am going to. We've still got a lot of questions, but I apologise. I'm starting to fade a little bit here. Lachlan asks, once we remove dodgy links from the footer of our blogs, do we have to tell Google, or will they figure it out? They'll figure it out. Just keep doing what you need to do each day. So that's it. So look, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut it a bit short today. I'll make up for it tomorrow. We'll have a big session tomorrow on all of this. So thanks very much for that. We will speak to you soon. I can't wait. Hopefully I'll catch up with a whole bunch of you when we take 30-day challenge on the road. We'll be hitting Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York, Manchester and London. So it will be very, very exciting. So, all right, folks, we will speak to you real soon. Have fun.